Welcome back to the channel Rare Coins History, where every coin tells a story, and every story could lead to a hidden fortune. If you've ever held an old copper penny in your hand and wondered, could this be worth something? Then today's video is just for you. We're diving deep into the rich and fascinating world of the United States of America's 1 cent Lincoln Wheat Penny from the year 1940. This little coin may seem ordinary at first glance, but beneath its humble appearance lies history, artistry, and in some cases, a shocking amount of value. Stay tuned, because by the end of this video, you might just be rushing to check your coin jar. Let's start our journey by traveling back in time to the early 1940s, an era when the world stood at the edge of major change. In 1940, America was still recovering from the Great Depression. The Second World War had already begun in Europe, and while the United States hadn't yet joined the conflict, the nation was preparing for an uncertain future. It was a time of hope, hard work, and resilience, and the coins minted during these years are silent witnesses to that chapter of American history. The 1940 Lincoln Wheat Penny carries the spirit of that age. Produced by the U.S. Mint in 3 locations, Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, these coins circulated through the hands of millions of Americans, from factory workers to soldiers, from farmers to students. Each penny has its own story, its own journey through time. And for collectors today, the 1940 wheat penny is more than a piece of metal, it's a relic of an America that was rapidly changing. Now, let's talk about what makes this coin so iconic. On the obverse side, you'll see the familiar and dignified profile of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner. Introduced in 1909 to celebrate the 100th anniversary of Lincoln's birth, this portrait became one of the most recognizable coin designs in American history. Above Lincoln's head, the words, "In God We Trust," stand proudly, a symbol of the nation's enduring faith and unity. To the left of Lincoln's portrait, the word "Liberty" reminds us of the principles that define America, and on the right, the date, 1940, stands as a mark of its time. Beneath the date, you may notice a tiny letter, either D for Denver or S for San Francisco, indicating where the coin was minted. If there's no letter at all, that means it was minted in Philadelphia. Flip the coin over, and you're greeted by one of the most beloved designs in U.S. coinage, the wheat reverse. 2 wheat stalks curve gracefully along each side of the coin, symbolizing prosperity, agriculture, and the hard-working American spirit. Between the wheat ears, the bold inscription, 1 cent, sits proudly, followed by United States of America. Above it, the Latin motto, E pluribus unum, meaning, out of many, one, reminds us of the unity that binds a diverse nation together. The simple yet elegant design gives this penny its name, the wheat penny, and collectors adore it for its beauty and symbolism. But let's get to the part that makes this coin truly fascinating: its rarity, its condition, and its value. You see, while millions of these coins were struck in 1940, not all of them are created equal. Over time, most were heavily circulated, tossed in pockets, used for candy, and worn smooth by everyday use. But a few lucky survivors were preserved in pristine condition, never spent, never scratched, still gleaming with that beautiful reddish copper luster. Those are the ones collectors dream of finding. The condition of your 1940 wheat penny plays the biggest role in determining its value. A coin that's been in circulation for decades might be worth only a few cents, but one in brilliant uncirculated condition can fetch far more. Collectors use grading systems to assess this, ranging from good and fine all the way to mint state. The higher the grade, the sharper the details on Lincoln's portrait and the clearer the wheat ears on the reverse. A coin that's been well preserved, with a bright red or red-brown shine, is far more desirable than one that's dark or heavily worn. Mint marks also play an important role in a coin's rarity. For example, the 1940 S and 1940 D wheat pennies are popular with collectors, but certain high-grade examples, especially those with sharp details and original mint luster, can reach surprising prices at auction. And then, of course, there are the rare errors. A small number of 1940 pennies left the mint with striking mistakes, double dies, off-center strikes, or even slight misalignments. These error coins are rare and can dramatically increase in value. To the untrained eye, these errors might look like imperfections, but to a collector, they're treasures that tell the story of the minting process itself. Over the years, coin experts and numismatists have documented cases where 1940 wheat pennies have sold for incredible sums. The key to these high prices lies in perfection, flawless details, untouched luster, and impeccable preservation. For a coin that has survived more than 80 years in such a state, its rarity becomes extraordinary. Collectors worldwide compete for these top-graded examples, and auction houses love showcasing them as part of America's numismatic legacy. So, the next time you come across an old wheat penny in your change, take a closer look. Check the year. Look for that tiny mint mark. Examine its shine, its details, its story. Because you never know, what looks like just another old coin could be something truly special. Imagine discovering a piece of copper history that's been quietly waiting for decades to reveal its true worth. That's the thrill of coin collecting, the idea that hidden among the ordinary could be something priceless. And now, it's time for the part you've been waiting for, the value reveal. Hold on to your seats, because if you happen to have a 1940 Lincoln wheat penny in flawless, mint state condition, especially one graded at the highest levels by professional grading services, it could be worth an astonishing $35,000 in the collector's market today. That's right, $35,000 for a single 1-cent coin. Who would have thought that a penny, something so small and so common, could hold such incredible value? This is why collectors around the world remain fascinated by coins like the 1940 wheat penny. They're tangible pieces of history, works of art, and potential treasures all rolled into one. So, before you spend that old penny or toss it back into your coin jar, take a second look. You might be holding a little piece of American history worth a fortune. Today, we're diving deep into a fascinating piece of American history, a small copper coin that carries big stories, powerful symbolism, and sometimes even life-changing value. That's right, we're talking about the United States of America 1-cent Lincoln wheat penny from the year 1954. This coin may look simple, but as you'll soon discover, it holds secrets of the past, lessons from history, and for a lucky few, the potential for an incredible payday. So sit back, grab your favorite drink, and let's journey together into the story behind this humble yet extraordinary little penny. Let's start by rewinding the clock to the mid-1950s, a time when America was brimming with optimism. The world had just come out of the shadow of World War II, and the United States was entering an age of booming industry, music, and prosperity. Elvis Presley was just starting to shake up the airwaves, new automobiles were rolling out of factories, and every American family dreamed of owning a home with a white picket fence. Amid this transformation, the U.S. Mint continued producing coins that would carry the nation's spirit, values, and identity into the pockets of millions. Among them was the 1954 Lincoln wheat penny, a small but meaningful symbol of that era's progress and pride. The Lincoln wheat penny design had already become an American classic by that time. Introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln, it marked the first time a real person appeared on a U.S. coin. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the coin was not only a tribute to one of the nation's greatest leaders but also a reminder of America's ideals, liberty, unity, and resilience. By 1954, the design had already been in use for 45 years, and yet it remained one of the most loved and respected coins in circulation. When you hold a 1954 wheat penny in your hand, you're holding a piece of that living legacy. On the front, or obverse, you'll see the familiar and dignified profile of Abraham Lincoln. Above his head, the words, "In God We Trust," remind us of the nation's faith and values. To the left of his portrait is the word "Liberty," and to the right, the date, 1954. Depending on where the coin was minted, you might notice a small letter just beneath the date, either a D for Denver or an S for San Francisco. If there's no letter at all, it means your coin was minted in Philadelphia. Each of these mint marks tells a story of where that specific penny began its journey. Flip the coin over, and the reverse side instantly captures the eye with its simple yet powerful design, two wheat stalks curving gracefully along the edges, framing the bold words, 1 cent, in the center, and United States of America, below. Above it all sits the Latin phrase, e pluribus unum, meaning, out of many, one. It's a timeless message, symbolizing unity, diversity, and the strength that comes when a nation stands together. Those twin wheat stalks are what give the coin its nickname, the wheat penny. They represent hard work, prosperity, and the bounty of American agriculture that helped build the country's foundation. Now, let's talk about why the 1954 wheat penny is more than just a nostalgic keepsake. It's also a coin that collectors across the world hunt for passionately. You see, while millions were minted across 3 locations, Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, the passage of time has taken its toll. Most of these coins circulated widely through the 1950s and 60s, buying candy, comic books, and bubble gum. They've been through pockets, drawers, and piggy banks. As a result, finding one today that's still in perfect, uncirculated condition is like finding a needle in a haystack. Condition is everything when it comes to coin collecting. Coins that are worn and scratched from circulation might only be worth their face value, a single cent. But coins that have survived in pristine shape, with their original copper-red luster and every detail of Lincoln's portrait and the wheat ears still sharp and clear, are a collector's dream. Grading services evaluate coins using terms like good, fine, extremely fine, and mint state. A 1954 wheat penny in mint state condition, especially one with a strong, bright color and no visible marks, can command impressive prices on the collector's market, but there's more. Within the world of coin collecting, mint marks and small variations can make an enormous difference. For example, the 1954 D wheat penny, minted in Denver, is one of the more common versions, but high-grade examples can still sell for hundreds of dollars. The 1954 S, minted in San Francisco, is somewhat scarcer in top condition, and collectors are willing to pay a premium for those with sharp strikes and perfect luster. Even more exciting are the rare error coins, the unexpected treasures that slip past the mint's inspection process. Some 1954 pennies were struck slightly off-center, others showed doubled lettering or repunched mint marks where the D or S was accidentally stamped twice. These small imperfections transform an ordinary coin into something truly extraordinary, and incredibly valuable. Imagine this, a simple penny that once jingled in someone's pocket during the golden age of rock and roll could now be worth hundreds, or even thousands, of dollars, all because it was made just a little differently or survived in flawless condition. That's the magic of coin collecting. Every coin tells its own story, and sometimes, that story leads to an unexpected reward. What makes the 1954 Lincoln wheat penny so captivating isn't just its potential value, it's what it represents. It's a symbol of an America full of confidence and promise, a time when small things mattered, and every cent counted. It's a tangible piece of the past that we can still hold in our hands, reminding us of a generation that worked hard, dreamed big, and built the foundation of the modern United States. When you collect coins like this, you're not just collecting metal, you're collecting history, craftsmanship, and memory. If you're lucky enough to come across a 1954 wheat penny, take a moment to really look at it. Check for the mint mark. Study the details. Notice the shine, the color, the sharpness of Lincoln's image. And if it looks perfect, without scratches or discoloration, it might just be worth more than you'd ever expect. Sometimes, the smallest discoveries turn out to be the biggest surprises. Now for the moment you've been waiting for, the part that turns curiosity into excitement. If you happen to own a 1954 Lincoln wheat penny in flawless, mint state condition, especially one with a rare error or exceptional red luster, it could be worth an unbelievable $37,000 in today's collector market. Yes, you heard that right, $37,000 for a single 1-cent coin. It's amazing to think that something so small, something that once bought a stick of gum or a newspaper, could now hold the power to change someone's life. That's the beauty of coin collecting, the thrill of uncovering hidden value in the most unexpected places. So, before you toss that old penny into your change jar or let it slip through your fingers, take another look. That tiny coin might not just be a piece of copper, it could be a key to history, a treasure of craftsmanship, and maybe even a small fortune waiting to be discovered. Today, We're traveling back in time, all the way to the late 1930s, a time when the world was changing, the United States was rebuilding, and a humble copper coin became a symbol of hope, resilience, and strength. That's right, we're talking about the United States of America 1 cent Lincoln Wheat Penny from the year 1937, a coin that might be sitting quietly in an old jar, a forgotten drawer, or even your family's coin collection. But don't underestimate this little piece of copper, because today, we're going to uncover its fascinating history, powerful symbolism, and unbelievable potential value. So sit tight, because by the end of this video, you might just find yourself checking every penny you own. Let's start by going back to the year 1937, a moment in history when America was still emerging from the depths of the Great Depression. Jobs were scarce, every penny mattered, and people truly valued the coins in their hands. Franklin D. Roosevelt was president, guiding the country through a recovery that relied on hard work, faith, and determination. The average person might have earned just a few dollars a day, and yet coins like the 1937 Lincoln Wheat Penny passed from hand to hand, carrying not just monetary value but also emotional weight. These pennies were part of daily life, used for milk, bread, and bus rides, and they witnessed a time when America's spirit of endurance was being tested like never before. Now, let's take a closer look at the design of this remarkable coin, a design that has stood the test of time for over a century. On the front, or obverse, we see the proud and familiar face of Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States, designed by Victor David Brenner. Introduced in 1909 to celebrate the 100th anniversary of Lincoln's birth, this design was groundbreaking because it was the first time a real person appeared on a circulating U.S. coin. Lincoln's profile radiates dignity and wisdom, representing honesty, unity, and the strength of the nation. Above his head are the powerful words, "In God we trust," a phrase that reminds us of the faith and hope that guided the country through its darkest times. To his left, the word "liberty" symbolizes the freedom that Lincoln himself fought so hard to preserve, and to his right, the date, 1937, tells us when this very coin was born, a quiet survivor of a challenging yet transformative decade. Depending on where your coin was made, you might notice a tiny letter just below the date. If there's no letter at all, your penny was minted in Philadelphia. If you spot a small D, that means it was minted in Denver, and if you see an S, your coin came from the San Francisco Mint. Each mint has its own fascinating story, and each location's coins carry a slightly different level of rarity and desirability among collectors today. Now, flip the coin over and prepare to admire one of the most beloved designs in American coinage, the wheat reverse. Two tall stalks of wheat curve gracefully along each edge of the coin, framing the center, where bold lettering declares, 1 cent and United States of America. At the top, the Latin phrase, e pluribus unum, stands proudly, meaning, out of many, one. It's a phrase that speaks to the unity of the nation, many states, many people, one purpose. The wheat stalks symbolize abundance, agriculture, and the hard-working American farmers who fed the country through hard times. This elegant, simple design gives the coin its popular nickname, the Wheat Penny. But what makes the 1937 Lincoln Wheat Penny truly special isn't just its design, it's the story it tells and the rarity it holds. You see, millions of these coins were produced, but very few have survived in the same beautiful condition they had when they first left the mint. Most of these pennies were spent, carried, dropped, and worn smooth by years of use. They bought candy, newspapers, stamps, and soda. Over time, they lost their shine and detail. But a rare few escaped the wear of circulation and remained untouched, carefully preserved by collectors or forgotten in old jars and envelopes. Those are the coins that collectors dream of finding today. Condition is everything when it comes to the 1937 wheat penny. The difference between a common coin and a valuable one can be as simple as its shine, its sharpness, and the amount of wear it suffered over the years. Collectors use a grading scale that ranges from good for heavily worn coins, all the way to mint state for coins that have never been used and still have their original red copper luster. A 1937 penny in average, circulated condition might only be worth a few cents, but one that has survived in flawless, uncirculated condition, with its original mint color, could be worth far more than you'd ever imagine, but there's another layer of excitement to the story: minting errors and rare varieties. Every now and then, something unusual happens during the coin-making process. A die might strike the coin twice, creating what's called a double die. A planchet might be slightly misaligned, causing an off-center strike. Or a mint worker might accidentally punch the mint mark twice, creating what's known as a repunched mint mark. These small errors, invisible to most people, make a huge difference in the world of numismatics. A 1937 wheat penny with a clear double die or repunched mint mark can be worth an astonishing amount of money, because collectors know that such mistakes are one of a kind. For example, a 1937 D wheat penny with sharp details, a vibrant red luster, and an error strike could easily draw major attention at auctions. Even minor imperfections, like a faint doubling in the word Liberty or a slightly off-center Lincoln portrait, can make your coin unique. And uniqueness, in coin collecting, always means higher value. Beyond its physical traits, the 1937 Lincoln wheat penny carries deep emotional and historical significance. Think about it, this coin existed during the last years before World War II. It circulated in an America that was healing from the Great Depression, slowly building confidence and unity again. Every penny represented effort, hope, and survival. Owning one today is like holding a small time capsule, a reminder of the strength and perseverance that shaped a nation. Now, here's something most people overlook: the copper used in these coins. Before the 1980s, pennies were made primarily from 95% copper. That means even the metal itself carries value. Copper was, and still is, a valuable commodity, but in 1937, it also represented durability and reliability. Over the decades, the warm, reddish hue of copper has become a signature of classic American coins. Collectors prize coins that have retained that bright, original shine, known as red luster, because it indicates that the coin has been beautifully preserved. So, how do you know if your 1937 penny is special? Start by examining it closely under good light. Check for any mint marks, unusual shapes, or striking errors. Look at Lincoln's details. Can you still see the texture of his hair, the lines in his coat, or the shine across the surface? The sharper those details are, the higher the grade and the greater the value. If you find one that looks nearly perfect, with no signs of wear and a bright copper color, you might just be holding a small fortune in your hand. And now, for the most exciting part, the value reveal. You've been patient, and it's time to find out what this little coin could really be worth. If you're lucky enough to own a 1937 Lincoln wheat penny in flawless, mint state condition, especially one with that rich red shine and no visible imperfections, your coin could be worth an astonishing $41,000 in today's collector market. Yes, you heard that right, $41,000 for a single penny. Imagine that, a coin that once bought a newspaper or a cup of coffee could now be worth enough to buy a brand new car. That's the incredible world of coin collecting, where history, art, and luck come together to create treasures that defy their humble beginnings. So before you spend that old penny, before you toss it aside or let it sit in a drawer, take a closer look. Because that little copper coin from 1937 might just be your hidden treasure, your lucky find, your piece of living American history. Today, we're diving deep into a true classic, a coin that has captured the hearts of collectors for decades and continues to shine as one of America's most beloved pennies. Yes, we're talking about the United States of America 1 cent Lincoln wheat penny from the year 1952, a coin that may look ordinary at first glance, but behind that simple copper shine lies a fascinating story of history, craftsmanship, and value. So grab your magnifying glass and stay tuned until the very end, because you might just discover that the little penny sitting in your collection could be worth a lot more than you ever imagined. Let's rewind time and travel back to the early 1950s, a period when the world was changing fast. The United States was emerging from the hardships of World War II and stepping into a new era of prosperity, innovation, and optimism. The Korean War was underway, television was finding its way into American living rooms, and the average family was beginning to experience the dream of a better future. But through all that transformation, one thing remained steady: the humble Lincoln wheat penny, a coin that continued to carry the image of America's most respected leader, Abraham Lincoln, across millions of hands and hearts. Now, let's take a closer look at this historic coin. The 1952 Lincoln Wheat Penny was struck in three major locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. If you look carefully under the date on your penny, you might see a tiny letter. D means it was minted in Denver, an S means San Francisco, and if there's no letter at all, your coin was made at the Philadelphia Mint. Each mint produced millions of these pennies, but as any true collector knows, not all coins are created equal. Some are special, either because of their exceptional condition, their rare errors, or their historical charm. The obverse of the coin, the front, proudly features the familiar and dignified profile of President Abraham Lincoln. This portrait was designed by Victor David Brenner, whose initials, VDB, can still be seen on the shoulder of Lincoln in some issues. It's hard to overstate just how important this design is. First introduced in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Lincoln's birth, it became the first American coin to feature a real historical figure rather than a symbolic image. Lincoln's calm expression, his strong jawline, and his thoughtful gaze represent honesty, freedom, and unity, the values that define the nation itself. Above Lincoln's head are the words, "In God We Trust," a statement that has become an enduring symbol of American faith. To his left, the word "liberty" serves as a reminder of the principle that Lincoln fought to protect during one of the most difficult chapters in American history. And to the right, the date, 1952, quietly marks the moment in time when this coin was struck, a year filled with post-war progress and American pride. Flip the coin over, and you'll find the iconic reverse design that gives this penny its famous nickname, the Wheat Penny. Two tall, detailed stalks of wheat curve upward along the edges of the coin, surrounding bold lettering that reads, 1 cent and United States of America. At the top, you'll see the Latin phrase, e pluribus unum, which means, out of many, one. This design, simple yet elegant, perfectly captures the agricultural roots and collective spirit of the nation during the early 20th century. It's a design that not only celebrates America's farmers and workers but also reflects the unity of a country built from many different people and states. The 1952 wheat penny might seem common. After all, tens of millions were minted, but here's where things get interesting. Over the years, many of these coins have disappeared, been melted down, or worn smooth through decades of circulation. But a rare few have survived in incredible condition, untouched by time, preserved in their full red copper brilliance. And those are the coins that collectors hunt for, the ones that can turn a simple penny into a valuable treasure. To truly understand the value of a 1952 Lincoln Wheat Penny, we have to talk about condition, one of the most important factors in coin collecting. The condition, or grade, of a coin determines how much it's worth. Coins that are heavily circulated, with scratches, faded details, or dull surfaces, might only be worth their face value. But coins that have been kept in mint state condition, with no signs of wear and their original copper luster intact, can be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Collectors often describe the color of old copper coins using three main terms: brown, red-brown, and red. Brown coins have darkened over time, red-brown coins still have some of their original shine, and red coins, those that glow with a bright copper tone, are the most sought after of all. A 1952 wheat penny that still shines red, as if it just left the mint, is a true gem in the eyes of any collector. But it's not just about shine. Sometimes, errors and variations make certain coins incredibly valuable. Minting errors can happen when the dies that strike the coins are misaligned, doubled, or damaged. These small imperfections often create unique and fascinating features, such as doubled letters, off-center strikes, or repunched mint marks. For example, a 1952 D wheat penny with a visible double die or a repunched mint mark can be worth a significant premium because it's a rare variation that collectors love to find. Imagine this: you're holding a 1952 penny in your hand. It looks normal at first. But under magnification, you notice something odd. The word "Liberty" looks doubled, or the mint mark has a shadow behind it. What you're seeing is not just a mistake, it's a hidden treasure. These small details transform an ordinary penny into a highly collectible piece that tells a story about the coin-making process itself. Now, let's talk about the historical context for a moment, because every coin is a time capsule. In 1952, Harry S. Truman was president, and the country was booming with post-war energy. Cars were becoming more common, rock and roll was emerging, and the baby boom generation was just beginning. Pennies like the 1952 wheat cent were everywhere, jingling in pockets, dropped in payphones, saved in piggy banks, and slipped into cash registers. They were part of everyday American life, small yet meaningful, ordinary yet essential. And that's what makes them so special today. Holding a 1952 Lincoln wheat penny is like holding a tiny piece of American history. Think about it, this coin has seen more than 70 years of life. It may have traveled across the country, passed through countless hands, or sat untouched in a jar for decades. And after all this time, it's still here, still shining, still carrying the face of Lincoln and the promise of, "In God we trust." Now, if you're lucky enough to find one of these coins in pristine condition, or with a rare minting error, then congratulations, you may be holding something very special. Professional grading services like PCGS and NGC often certify coins that are exceptionally well preserved, and collectors are willing to pay impressive sums for them. So here's the moment you've been waiting for, the part that makes every collector's heart race. A 1952 Lincoln wheat penny, in absolutely flawless mint state condition, with brilliant red luster and sharp detail, once sold at auction for an incredible $37,000, yes, $37,000 for a single 1-cent coin. Just imagine that, a small copper penny that might have bought a piece of candy or a newspaper in 1952, now worth more than a brand new car. That's the beauty of coin collecting. It's not just about the money, it's about the story, the journey, and the history that each coin carries with it. So, the next time you find an old wheat penny in your change, don't ignore it. Look closer. Study the date. Check the mint mark. Examine its color and shine. Because you never know, the coin in your hand might not just be pocket change, it could be a hidden piece of American heritage worth thousands of dollars. Today, we're about to uncover one of the most fascinating and beloved coins in American history, the United States of America 1-cent Lincoln wheat penny from 1941. Don't let its small size fool you. This little copper coin holds a story that stretches back over 8 decades, filled with history, craftsmanship, and collector passion. And if you stick with me until the very end, I'll reveal just how much one of these simple 1941 pennies has sold for, and trust me, the number will absolutely shock you. Let's travel back to 1941, a time when the world stood on the edge of monumental change. The United States was still emerging from the Great Depression, and while the storm clouds of World War II loomed over Europe, America was preparing for a new chapter in its history. Franklin D. Roosevelt was president. The average family earned around $1,500 a year, and a loaf of bread cost less than 10 cents. But tucked into the pockets of millions of Americans was a coin that carried the image of one of the most respected figures in the nation's history, Abraham Lincoln. The 1941 Lincoln wheat penny wasn't just a coin, it was a symbol of strength, endurance, and unity, values that would soon be tested as the country headed toward war. Even though it was made for everyday use, this penny has become one of the most collected coins of all time, partly because it marks the final years before wartime metal changes began to alter the look and feel of U.S. coins. Let's start by exploring the design of this classic piece. On the front of the coin, you'll see the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln, designed by the talented sculptor Victor David Brenner. This portrait first appeared on the penny in 1909, celebrating the 100th anniversary of Lincoln's birth, and it became the first U.S. coin ever to feature a real historical figure. Lincoln's face is strong yet calm, gazing forward with a sense of wisdom and determination, qualities that reflect the legacy he left behind. Above Lincoln's head, you'll find the phrase, "In God we trust," a reminder of the nation's enduring faith. To the left, the word liberty stands proudly, representing the freedom that defines the American spirit. And just to the right, you'll see the date 1941, marking the year this little coin was struck, a year filled with anticipation, change, and courage. Now, if you look closely below the date, you might see a tiny letter, a mint mark. This small detail tells you where the coin was made. No letter means it was minted in Philadelphia, D means it came from Denver, and an S marks it as a product of the San Francisco Mint. Each mint struck millions of coins that year, but collectors know that each location can produce variations in rarity, tone, and quality that affect the value. Turn the coin over, and you're greeted by one of the most iconic reverse designs in American coinage, the wheat ears design. Two tall stalks of wheat curve along the left and right edges of the coin, framing the bold words, 1 cent and United States of America. Above them, the Latin motto, E pluribus unum, meaning, out of many, one, reminds us that this small coin stands for a united people and a shared purpose. This simple yet elegant design was a tribute to America's agricultural heritage and the hard-working spirit that helped the nation thrive through challenging times. It's a design that evokes warmth and nostalgia, a link to a time when pennies actually bought something meaningful and when each coin carried a touch of history in your hand. Now, let's talk about the materials. The 1941 Lincoln Wheat Penny is composed primarily of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, giving it that warm reddish-brown glow that collectors adore. Unlike the steel pennies that would appear just 2 years later during World War II, these 1941 coins still carry the rich copper color that defines the early wheat cents. Over time, though, copper reacts to its environment, which is why some of these pennies may appear red, red-brown, or dark brown today. For collectors, this color difference matters a lot. Coins that still retain their bright red luster, meaning they've been preserved without exposure to air or moisture, are far rarer and much more valuable than those that have darkened with age. So if you find a 1941 wheat penny that still shines like new, you might be looking at something truly special. Of course, the condition of the coin also plays a massive role in determining its value. Collectors and grading services like PCGS and NGC use a detailed scale to grade coins, ranging from poor to mint state. A heavily worn 1941 penny that's been through decades of use may only be worth its face value, a single cent. But if your coin has sharp details, a glossy finish, and no visible scratches or nicks, it could be classified as mint state, meaning it looks almost exactly as it did the day it was struck. Those coins can sell for impressive amounts, especially if they have vibrant color and strong eye appeal, but that's not all. Hidden among the millions of 1941 wheat pennies are some extraordinary minting errors that make certain examples even more valuable. Errors happen when something goes slightly wrong during the minting process. Maybe the die was misaligned, or the design was struck twice, or the mint mark was punched incorrectly. These imperfections are rare, but when they do appear, collectors go wild for them. One of the most famous varieties from this era is the 1941 double die obverse, where parts of the lettering, particularly Liberty or In God We Trust, appear doubled under magnification. There are also off-center strikes, die cracks, and repunched mint marks that make some 1941 pennies stand out from the rest. Imagine finding one of these in your change, something unique that tells a story about the day it was made, the machinery that struck it, and the hands that first held it. Now, picture this. You're holding a small, copper-colored coin that's been around for over 80 years. Maybe it was used to buy a soda in 1941, or tucked into a soldier's pocket as he went off to war. Maybe it sat in an old drawer for decades, forgotten until now. That same coin, ordinary to most people, could be a hidden gem waiting to be rediscovered by someone like you. The beauty of coin collecting lies in this mystery, in the idea that history and value can be found in the simplest places. Every scratch tells a story. Every gleam of copper reflects a moment in time. And the 1941 Lincoln Wheat Penny is no exception. It's a piece of America's legacy that connects us to the resilience and optimism of a generation that shaped the modern world. Collectors everywhere still cherish the 1941 penny because it represents the final chapter before America's wartime coinage began to change. It's the last full year of copper production before the government shifted to steel in 1943 to conserve metal for military use. That historical context gives the 1941 penny an extra layer of meaning. It's the calm before the storm, the last echo of peace before the war transformed everything. Now, let's get to the part you've been waiting for, the value. How much can a small 1941 Lincoln wheat penny really be worth today? Well, here's where things get exciting. Ordinary circulated examples might only be worth a few cents, maybe $1 or $2 if they're in decent shape. But the story changes completely when we're talking about coins that have been perfectly preserved, coins that have never seen a single day of circulation, and coins with brilliant, original red color, because in one incredible case, a 1941 Lincoln wheat penny in absolute pristine mint state condition, glowing with its original copper luster and graded at the highest professional level, once sold at auction for an astonishing $31,000. That's right, $31,000. For a 1-cent coin. Imagine finding one of those in your collection or inside an old coin jar passed down from your grandparents. It's a reminder that even the most ordinary-looking coins can hide extraordinary value, if you know what to look for. So, the next time you come across a 1941 wheat penny, don't just toss it aside. Study it closely. Check the date, inspect the mint mark, look for doubling or unique errors, and pay attention to its color and shine. That little copper coin could be your ticket to discovering a piece of history, and maybe even a small fortune. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey through time and treasure. If you enjoyed exploring the story behind the 1941 Lincoln wheat penny, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss another rare coin discovery. Remember, every coin has a story, and sometimes that story is worth thousands. Keep searching, keep learning, and as always, happy collecting.